up, YouTube land? It smells like rotten eggs. I don't know why. It's crazy. Anyway, y'all don't want to hear about that. So, one thing I always seem to talk about with people, and it's actually kind of fun to talk about, one kind of can daydream about it, is... Hang on, let me get past this damn intersection here. So yeah, one thing we always talk about is, if money was no object, which bike would you have? Is this building condemned? I bet you it's like going to be like a brand new condo building within 3 years. Anyway, so yeah, if money was no object, what bike would you have? So, you know, obviously people are going to choose between vintage bikes or model year bikes or whatever. But I thought, you know, to myself, well, if money was really no object, I wouldn't have one bike. I would have a bunch of bikes. So, in the way of a little, I don't know, self-indulgence exercise, I decided to make a list of my top 10 current bikes. And when I say current, I mean a model year life cycle is usually about, what, 5 years? So when I say current bike, I'm talking 2015 to 2020. Obviously, there are vintage bikes that I like better than some of the bikes on this list, but, you know, we'll do all-time bikes later at some other point. Because, you know, it's kind of harder to get the specs on those and things like that. But yeah, I mean, if I could have my dream garage, I wouldn't have just one bike. In fact, I'd probably have like 20. Remember how George Costanza used to dress according to his mood? Well, I'd ride the bike that I felt like riding according to my mood. I would have 20 options at least. Well, you know, realistically, I'd probably have like 5 bikes. So to make this list, I obviously took a look at a bit of everything. I'm looking at the bikes' performance, the aesthetics, the specs, the affordability, not so much, because, you know, it's if money was no object, but these are overall scores. These are not just aesthetics, these are not just performance. This takes pretty much everything into account. That's the way I like to do my lists, though I don't do many. Oh, another important thing to understand is all the bikes I'm gonna name, I've ridden them to some extent, at least for 1 mile. At least test driven all of these bikes. Whether it's from a friend letting me take it around the block, or me actually driving it at the dealership, or me actually taking it for a ride. So all of these bikes I've actually sat on and driven for, I would probably say, at least 1 mile. So let's kick things off. The number 10 top current bike, let's call them that, top current bikes. The number 10 top current bike is going to be the Harley Davidson Iron 883. Now the Iron 883 is a freaking Harley classic. It really is. It's been around forever. They keep updating it, and my suspicion is they'll keep updating it for decades to come. Other than the street line, it really is Harley's introductory level bike, and it's a great looking bike. It's a fantastic bike, and it's got its own little subculture that's built up around it. You know, the bike looks great. I've driven this bike. It's a great bike, both performance, and it's an 883 engine, but you can upgrade that with a big bore kit to a 1200. So, you know, power, you know, obviously you're not going to keep up with the Softail line, but you got the right amount of power. All the power you're going to need, you can get from an Iron 883. And the thing I love the most about the Iron is how customizable it is. There are literally endless options as to what you can do with an Iron 883. I've seen them turned into bobbers, I've seen them turned into baggers, I've seen them turned into choppers, I've seen them turned into every damn type of bike that you can imagine. That would be one of the bikes in my garage. Alright, number 9. Number 9 is going to be the Indian Scout Bobber. Another cruiser, yes, and not all of the bikes on this list are cruisers, but the Indian Scout Bobber, to me, it's probably Indian's best looking bike. I love the aesthetics of the bike. It drives really well. The seat's a bit uncomfortable, but I mean, who cares about that? You can always change out the seat. But I think from the factory, it's probably one of the better looking bikes out there. And you know, Indian are quality bikes. Just a few weeks ago, I was at a Harley show. They're great looking bikes, and it was a Harley bike show, and an Indian ended up winning best in show. And the Indian Scout Bobber's got plenty of power, and it really does look fantastic, and it's very, very comfortable, like I said, except for the seat on really longer rides. To me, it's Indian's best bike. Number 8, first sports bike of the list, the Honda CBR 1000RR. That bike, I mean, it is straight up power. You know, it doesn't have more torque than, you know, some bikes out there, but I mean, that bike flies very, very, very quickly. Off the line, you can just feel it. It's like you're pulling G's. And, you know, it's a fantastic looking bike. Because it's a Honda, it also has a bunch of customs you can do to it. If you're gonna have a sports bike, granted, you know, let's be honest here, you don't actually need more than, say, a 675 or a 650, 750 if you're gonna be on the street. You're never going to unlock a leader bike's full potential on the city driving. Never going to happen. So a 675, a 750, that'll get you all the power that you need for being outside the track. But if you're in the track, CBR 1000RR, that bike, yeah, you're going to feel it. It's going to be great. And like I said, it looks freaking incredible. It's a Honda, so it's very reliable. Honda's reliability is probably second to none. I was able to attest to that with my Shadow. And yeah, like I was saying, you're never going to unlock a leader bike's full potential on the street, but oh, look at this idiot. See, this is what I'm talking about. What the fuck is that kid doing? Hell are these people doing? Dude, you're gonna die. Fucking morons. I hope they watch this video too. They're idiots. Doing that across an intersection in downtown Miami. Just asking for trouble. I just talked about this on my last video. Alright, let's move off the CBR 1000. Let's go to number, what, 7? Yeah, number 7 is going to be the Harley Davidson Sportster Roadster. Now, this is probably the best looking bike in the Sportster line, to me. Obviously, these are all my opinion. But out of the Sportster line, I think the Roadster is probably the best looking bike. Not only is it the best looking, what's his name? A buddy of mine, Dump Truck Willies. Check out his Instagram account. He's got one and it looks freaking fantastic. He put a crazy looking exhaust on it and he does some awesome stunting with it. And yep, that's a great looking bike. And again, like most, it's a 1200 engine, and like most Sportsters, there are endless customizations you can make to it because it's a Sportster. Harley Davidson Sportsters have their own little, like I said, subculture, and you can do whatever the heck you want to those bikes. Ah, finally on the highway. Number 6. And I'm actually on number 6 right now. It's not the current version, this is a 2012. But granted, the 2012, okay, so the number 6 bike is the Harley Davidson Fat Boy. Now, one of my favorite Fat Boy models is this one right here, the 2012 Fat Boy Low. But out of the current models, you know, it's still a fantastic bike. But what I mean is, I like the 2012 Fat Boy Low a lot better than a lot of the bikes that are still to come on this list. In fact, I like it better than most. So the Harley Davidson Fat Boy is obviously, I think it's probably Harley's flagship product. It is an iconic bike, obviously made famous by Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Terminator 2. It really is an iconic bike, and you can pick it out. It's got those solid wheels. You can pick it out whether it's a 1990 or a 2020. You can pick it out of a lineup. It is iconic, and the 2020s, the paint jobs, the paint schemes that they use for this current model year are freaking just amazing. Props to Harley for that. Obviously, it's up to a 114 cubic inch engine, 6-speed Milwaukee 8. And it's a powerful beast, and you know, yeah, it deserves a spot. It's a really, any Fat Boy really would have a spot in my dream garage. God, I would really love to have this garage. You know, they finally repaved this road. You know, one thing that our toll dollars, which are freaking excessive, actually went to do. They repaved this road. Yay. Number 5. Number 5 is going to be the Yamaha R1. Yes, it's another sports bike. Yes, it's another leader bike. And yes, it's the direct competition, or Yamaha's direct equivalent to the Honda CBR 1000RR. And the reasons I like the Yamaha R1 are probably the exact same reasons I love the CBR 1000RR. It's still going to be probably just as powerful, just as reliable, just as many customizations available for it. But the main difference to me, I think the Yamaha R1 looks a lot better. The aesthetics of it are, to me, far superior. The paint jobs out of the factory, to me, are far superior from Yamaha than from Honda. But both bikes are incredible, and I would own both. Because truthfully, both Yamahas and Hondas are very solid, very reliable bikes. And if I had sports bikes, I would take them to the track. I wouldn't be out here on the road like this going 115 miles an hour with this level of traffic. No, I would take it to a track and open her up, let her rip. All right, number 4. At number 4, we have the Ducati Scrambler. I had to throw a cafe racer in here, right? Obviously, Ducati they're more complex to work on than most bikes, but I mean, you gotta have one Ducati in your garage, right? I think the Scrambler is probably Ducati's best looking bike. You can mod and customize the crap out of it. It's got a great power band, a great engine behind it, and I think it's one of the better looking bikes out there. The aesthetics of it are just fantastic. I think it's an extremely comfortable bike for what it is. No, not for what it is. I think it's an extremely comfortable bike, period. The Ducati's got great service and reliability and all that stuff, so no hate, no hate. In fact, I love me some Ducati Scrambler. Coming in at number 3, coming in fast, we've got the Triumph Daytona. Yes, this is my favorite sports bike. Why? Because honestly, so like I said earlier, an 875 engine is going to get you all the power you need for the road. And it's going to get you plenty of power for the track too. Triumph Daytona, to me, is probably the best bike that Triumph makes. Obviously the Bonneville is their best selling bike of all time, but I think honestly, if I were Triumph, I would stick to sport bikes because they do that. The Daytona, to me, it's a superior product than most other sport bikes out there. The aesthetics of it are great. The engine, I think, is fantastic. I think it's got a great power band. The transmission, the shifting on the Triumph Daytona, I found it incredibly gratifying. And I know that's a weird word to use when it comes to shifting gears on a motorcycle, but for some reason, most sport bikes, it's not like I struggled to know whether I was in gear or not. I struggled to figure out where my foot was in relationship to the shifter. Granted, I'm not used to riding sport bikes. I've only ridden like 4 for very short distances. But the best one by far that I've ridden is the Triumph Daytona number 2. Little disclaimer, out of the 2020 bikes, actually bikes 2018 or later, this is my number 1. But in this list, since we're doing 2015 or later, this is my number 2. And that is the 2020 Harley Davidson Fat Bob. I mean, this bike, it looks mean, it looks sporty, and it looks comfortable as fuck all at the same time. And it looks powerful. The Harley Davidson Fat Bob, it runs a 114 cubic inch engine, 6-speed transmission, Milwaukee 8. And you would think with the seat and the drag bars, the way they sit a little forward, it would be uncomfortable with the forward foot controls, but this thing is as comfortable as a Harley gets. Obviously, it's not a road glide, but for the Softail cruiser line, the Fat Bob is surprisingly comfortable. Obviously, because it's a Harley, it's got a million mods you can do to it. Maybe not as much as the Sportster lines, but I love the rear suspension is really great. And you know, a lot of people were, I don't want to say scared, but skeptical when the new Fat Bob comes out. And I gotta tell you, there's a lot of people that hate the Fat Bob because it used to be kind of the flagship DYNA. So when Harley killed the DYNA, a lot of people thought the Fat Bob was dead, but they rolled it into the Softail line, and to me, they did an incredible job with it. All right, I need a drink buying break before we get to numero uno.
Later, in the void.
All right, we are almost at our destination. So while we're standing still, I am going to go ahead and continue my list. So yeah, number 2 was the Harley Davidson Fat Bob, current model year. So before we do number 1, to review Harley-Davidson Iron 883. Number 9 is going to be the Indian Scout Bobber, the Honda CBR 1000 RR. Number 7 is going to be the Harley-Davidson Sportster Roadster. The number 6 bike is the Harley-Davidson Fat Boy. Number 5 is going to be the Yamaha R1. At number 4, we have the DUCATI Scrambler. Coming in at number 3, coming in fast, we've got the Triumph Daytona. Number 2, 2020 Harley-Davidson Fat Bob. Alright, so now that we've reviewed our list, let's reveal the number 1 current bike. And I gotta give a disclaimer here. So this bike came out 2016, 2017. Then they stopped making it. Now they came out with a new model, or a redone or refurbished model for 2020. But I gotta say the 2017 is actually my favorite. It is my favorite bike of all time. Not the 2020. I like the 2017 a whole lot better. And I am talking about the DYNA, Harley-Davidson DYNA Low Rider S. That bike, so straight out of the factory, it's the best looking bike ever, I think. It's got a 110 cubic inch engine, obviously 6-speed twin cam engine. It's not a Milwaukee 8. The aesthetics, it's got that Screaming Eagle heavy air breather. Once you do an exhaust and put a tuner on, you have a full stage 1. It really is a great looking bike. It's got a tiny windscreen fairing. I'm just riding around this parking lot now so I can finish up. It's blacked out. It's got those copper wheels. They call them rose gold now, but I'm sorry, that's a copper color. I think it looks incredibly fantastic. Blockhead actually had one for a long time. Showed it off a lot. I got to ride one. It was a Harley-Davidson demo days. I want to say back in March or April, and there was one there. It belonged to somebody. It wasn't one of their demo bikes, but I was able to talk the guy into letting me ride it for a bit. He was taking out I want to say a Fat Bob actually. He was taking out a Fat Bob, and I talked him into letting me take his bike on the ride. Later on, I took the Fat Bob out. It was pretty fun, but I'm just kind of practicing low-speed maneuvers now. But yeah, to me, current best looking bike, or what I'm calling current, which is the last 5 years, is the 2017 Harley-Davidson Low Rider S. So if I had a dream garage, those would be the first 10 bikes in that garage. And let me tell you, it would be a hell of a good garage. Alright guys, that's gonna do it. Ride safe, not like those idiots. Ride smart. Peace out. That's it.